Address, where you're from?
My name is Talia Matheson. live in Eden. I'm at 5837 East, 2500 North. And I came to finish my conversation with you, Commissioner Farwer, since we got cut off so quickly this afternoon. So I was talking to you about the development that's going to be west of my house and how the water was coming through.
Does this relate to the agenda?
It does, because it also has to do with the sewer. So I want you to know I disagree. I disagree that the sewer should be paid for with on private land. The public money is going to private land on the sewer. I disagree with that. I have a lot of other things to say, and I'm going to be coming back to the next meeting to this. But next time when somebody calls you and is talking to you about their concerns, do not hang up on them. It's not very professional. I would have appreciated you telling me, hey, I got to go to another meeting. Can we finish this later? That would have been much better. I want you guys to know that Ogden Valley is so disappointed with how things are getting run that they are going to probably create their own city because we do not feel represented. Please, please listen to the people. And because this meeting was changed, by the time I will not probably be able to be here for the truth and taxation thing. I disagree with raising taxes. You guys have raised, or not you guys, taxes in general have raised and raised and raised, and everybody needs to live within their means, including the government. That's all.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone online, Stacy? With questions? All right. We're going to close public comments and go to consent items, Commissioners. Consent items F1 through 7. Number 1, request for approval of warrants 9498 through 9578, and number 480-683 through 480-829, and 312-313 in the amount of $2,295,111.21. 2, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $7,945. And for a summary of warrants and purchase orders, we'll go to Mr. Ricky Hatch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We issued 2 purchase orders this week for $8,000. 81% of that amount, or $6,500, was for the Health Department to purchase vital records certified paper. As far as checks, we issued 230 warrants this week for $2.3 million. Just under a third of that amount, $698,000, is for the conference center remodel, as well as the jail design services. 21%, or $488,000, is for the jail to provide mostly to provide nursing services, but also costs for sealing the parking lot, culinary for inmates, utilities, and inmate counseling. 12%, or $285,000, was an escrow release payment made to Powder Point. 11%, or $250,000, was made for paramedic services, and 10%, or $239,000, was made on behalf of Weber Housing Authority, and those are the housing payments.
Thank you for that, Ricky. Questions for Mr. Hatch?
I don't have any.
Commissioner Harvey? Any questions?
No on those items, nope.
Thanks, Ricky. So let's go to next agenda item 4, F4, request for approval of the minutes of the meeting held on November 21st, 2023. 5, request for approval of the subrecipient agreement by and between Weber County and Osprey Ranch LLC for American Rescue Plan SLFRF funds for Brown Sewer Lift Station, Osprey Lift Station, and associated transmission lines. 6, request for approval of subrecipient agreement by and between Weber County and Wolf Creek Water and Sewer Improvement District for the American Rescue Plan Act, again, SLFRF funds for Sewer Line Phase 2, Snowcrest Junior High to Maverick, Four-Way Stop, and Sewer Line Phase 3, Valley Junction, New Eden area. Next, agenda item 7, request for approval of a subrecipient agreement by and between Weber County and Wolf Creek Water and Sewer Improvement District for American Rescue Plans Act SLFRF funds for Wolf Creek Reuse Water Pond. I think those are our items, Commissioners. Questions, comments? If not, I'd be ready for a motion.
I want to recognize the chair of the Wolf Creek Water and Sewer, Ms. Miranda Menzies, in the audience. Thanks for coming.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve items F1 through and including 7 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Those items are approved as read. Let's go to our action item G1, discussion and/or action on a request for final approval of the Grove at JDC Ranch subdivision Phase 1 containing 30 lots and located at approximately 2855 West Plain City Road, file number LVW 22722. Mr. Felix Liverano.
Yes,
Felix.
thank you. Thanks for that introduction. And just to let everybody here know, I work for the Weber County Planning staff. And what I've done is I've prepared a quick little, just a rundown of the request today. This is a residential development, and what they're looking for is final approval. This is phase 1 of the development, and it just contains 30 lots. Last year, this same property was actually rezoned. It used to be A1, and now it's R110. And so this development is optimized for single-family residential, and the lot sizes are roughly 10,000 square feet, which fits in well with the R110. Again, this is an unincorporated pocket there surrounded by Plain City. The location of this development is 2855 West North Plain City Road. And the county staff has taken this phase 1 through the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission gave a positive recommendation for final approval, and so here we are today requesting that. The planning staff and the engineering staff here at the county are also reviewing the final civil drawings. They're pretty much wrapped up at this point. And also the developer is preparing the letter of credit, and that will cover the cost of the remaining subdivision improvements. So that will be completed very soon here. That pretty much concludes what I had to say about this. We do have, if there's any questions or even some more technical questions, we do have Mr. Steve Anderson here with Nilsson Homes. And so we'd be happy to answer any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you, Felix. Questions, comments for Felix regarding this?
Just a point of correction, Felix. You said virtually surrounded by Plain City, but isn't the eastern edge of this development bordering Far West City?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay,
I
just
could be
wanted to
mistaken.
make sure I had the right one in
You're
mind.
getting a head shake
Yes.
behind you. Maybe Mr. Anderson should come up.
Yeah, okay.
It doesn't quite border Far West City. There's a property in between there. Actually, Plain City there's a strip that covers all 3 sides by Plain City, or part of the third side.
I could bring it up on the
South of
screen.
this is the JDC project.
Well, I mean, that's not necessary. Thank you, Felix.
I think, I think,
Really close. It's one property away.
yes, not exactly bordering, but close. Okay, other additional comments or questions for Felix?
I don't have any.
None from me.
All right, if not, I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion to give final approval for the Grove at JDC Ranch subdivision phase 1 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thanks, Felix.
All right, thank you.
Let's now go to our next agenda item, request for approval of ratification of a contract by between Weber County and the Utah Department of Transportation for replacement bridges. Mr. Gary Myers.
Thanks,
Go ahead.
Commissioners. Appreciate the time. So for your approval and ratification today, I have for you a contract that was probably a little bit my oversight and why it wasn't adopted through a formal commission process when this began. And so essentially, that's why we have it for your ratification. What the contract is to replace 2 of our bridges. This is a fantastic opportunity for the county because what it does is it only requests a 6.77% match in the replacement costs of the bridge itself. Any questions you might have for me on this?
So, Gary, how many bridges are we talking about here?
So the ratification item is for 2 bridges that we actually have the match on.
Okay.
However, there's actually a 3rd bridge we're doing as well inside the county as well with a 0% match.
That would be with, working with UDOT on that bridge.
Correct, yeah. We're using the same design team through UDOT and federal funds to replace all three bridges. It's just that one of them actually had a 0% match, which is fantastic. The other two just had that smaller 6.77 local match.
Great. That's a good match. Okay, questions, commissioners?
I don't have any.
Fantastic.
All right, I'm ready for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the ratification of a contract by and between Weaver County and the Utah Department of Transportation as presented by Mr. Myers.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Commissioner.
You're still up. Next item, request for approval of a revision, which would be ordinance 2023-33, it looks like. County Code Title 22, Flood Damage Prevention Section. Go ahead.
Yes, so this is really more of an update to, a removal and an update and replacement of our existing flood ordinance that we have currently in place. FEMA sent us some new language. The language itself is not any more restrictive than what our current code is, and it required an update to our ordinance. So that's essentially what this item is as well, too.
Got it. Okay, commissioners? Questions or comments?
I'm glad
For
to see
action.
this happen. I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2023-33
All right, we have a
regarding the
motion.
flood damage prevention section.
Second.
And we have a second. Roll call vote. Craig?
Roll call vote for ordinance 2023-33. Commissioner Bolos?
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Chair Ford?
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Commissioners, appreciate it.
Appreciate that. Good work on those bridges.
Thank you.
They needed it. Okay, our next agenda item is a public hearing that will begin at 6 PM.
The public cannot hear online, and so if they want to make any comments, so they're just typing back and forth. She's working on the sound,
Okay.
but do you want to?
Can you read the comments?
Yeah, I can have them chat if you
Chair.
tell them to let me know when they can hear us,
Okay.
and I'll let them know to type their chat. I haven't been able to hear them business.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
we do have former Commissioner James Ebert in the audience, and I know he's got a wonderful voice. Maybe he could entertain us with some type of music.
I think that's
Music while we're waiting is not a new concept, and
I think that's an excellent idea.
it'd be nice that then they could tell us if they could hear.
Well, you could make it a quartet if you'd like.
I like that. That's okay. Four's good.
Okay.
So, do you want to comment on the public hearing, or? Yeah. So they can't hear us? Well, so if they want to put it in the,
Chat.
they want to put it in the chat, then we can read it. But but they can't hear us, though.
Hearing, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to say we'll respond, because we can take their comment and make it part of the record.
Yeah, that's it.
I offered him this seat. You didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're not at, yeah.
Well, that's not my commissioners meeting.
Sounds to me like we could hear some of them.
I'm betting all of them if we can hear something.
I was wrong, it was 4. Plus staff. 5 minutes. We can hear them, they can't hear us. They won't know when to. They won't know when to comment. I don't think we do. Call it. I think so.
Alexa, turn off.
That shows a little courtesy. Here.
So it's slightly after 6. We've got a internet problem with sound, so we're going to hold off the start of the public hearing for just a few minutes. Hopefully those on the Zoom meeting will be able to hear us at that point in time.
Hold all of them.
Well, Quinn?
I'd love them to keep online too. Scott Park's presentation. Isn't the gal out? Planning Commission. Exactly what I want. Show on there.
Test, test.
No.
All right, noon 6 tonight, the White Rim Road at Canyonlands National Park remains closed after a rock fall last weekend. Park officials said large boulders blocked the road.
I'm trying, but I'm just going to shut it off.
Prevent any future.
What are you doing?
This is incredible. Shows the kind of
No, because you gotta go.
Good.
She's gonna put them on Facebook, right? so they've got the two links here.
Recording in progress.
All right, let's get going, Harv. All right, I think we have, hopefully, our technical problems resolved. We've forwarded people to Facebook or YouTube, so they should be able to participate now. So with that, it's time to go into our public hearing. Sorry for the delays. I'd request a motion to adjourn our public meeting and reconvene as a public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll now go to the public hearing to take input on the Weber County 2024 tentative operating capital budget and the proposed tax increase. We're going to start that with a presentation by Mr. Scott Park. Scott, apologize for the delay. Time's yours.
No worries, Commissioners. I'm hoping one of the individuals in the back can help us throw this presentation up. Any better? Okay.
I can't find it on YouTube.
We're hoping to get this presentation up on the screen. I can't.
Do I need
Just
to do
pop
Weber
back and see if
count
Craig can turn it on. Is
too?
that okay? Or do you want to, or I can? Oh, there it is. It's on there now.
We've got it there now, Scott.
Okay. All right, Commissioners. Sorry for the delay, and good evening to you all. As you are aware, we started this budget process back in September when we were gathering requests from the various departments as to what they needed for the coming year. We spent a couple of weeks in October, end of September, first part of October, in public work sessions going over the different budget, and we published the tentative budget online on November 1st. It's been out there. We also sent notices out to all the parcels in the county with the property tax notice to mention this hearing. And what I'd like to do is just kind of go through some quick highlights of the budget in general, answer some frequently asked questions that I've been getting over the last couple of weeks in regards to the Truth and Taxation hearing that we're holding tonight, and then talk specifically about what we're doing, what we're proposing to do, and why we're proposing to do that. So with that, I just want to start out by zooming out and looking at Weber County Corporation as a whole. So Weber County as a whole is going to receive about $290 million. You can kind of see how it's broken out. Sales tax, 35% is the biggest share. Charges for services, so those are fees that we charge. That's about 22%. Property tax is 27%, and everything else combined is about 16%. Now, how the county government spends its money, 33% is going to streets, 16% to general government, 18% to public safety. Now, this looks like a lot, and it is a lot of money, but the one thing I want to point out here, Commissioners, is that we actually don't have a control over most of this money. So we receive funds collected under Weber County's taxing authority, and then it's passed straight on to the state. For example, our transportation taxes. The tax is levied in our name, but we never actually even see the money. It's collected by the State Tax Commission, and it's sent straight to either UDOT or UTA. So a lot of the money that you see, revenues and expenditures on our financial statements, are actually just flow-throughs. They're not funds that you actually get to decide where they go. They're restricted by state statute for certain purposes, and Commissioners, you have no control over that. So what I like to focus on when I talk about Weber County is the general fund, which is really what Weber County Commissioners have control over. So as we zoom into the general fund, that's about a $97 million fund, $97 million of revenue. And as you look at this, property tax make up almost half of that, 46%. Sales tax is about 21%, and charges for services about 26%. Now, how we choose to allocate that funding, 54% is going towards public safety. 38% is going towards general government, 3% to public health, and 5% for everything else. Now, even though you commissioners have discretion over how some of this money is spent, there's still mandates that we have to fulfill from the state. So, for example, we have to provide for our public defender's office to defend those who are accused of crimes. We have to provide money for our prosecuting attorneys to prosecute those crimes. We have to provide money for jail security, for court security, for various other mandates that the state give us. Now, how we choose to fulfill those mandates, that is up to our discretion, but it's not like we can decide, well, we're not going to be in the sheriff's business anymore. So we have to fulfill these mandates that we're given. So as we look at how we actually spend the money in the general fund by function is what we call it. So 70% of all those dollars that come in are going to go towards employee compensation. That's salaries and wages, and that's benefits and related payroll taxes. 70%, nearly 3/4. Weber County is a service industry. We provide services. It's not like we're in the business of buying and selling goods. So what our operating expenditures, everything else, that's only 23%. Equipment is about 2%, transfers to other funds 4%, and travel and training, that's only about 1% of the total amount that we're spending. So now, most people are here because of the Truth in Taxation Notice, so I want to just jump straight into that and start talking a little bit about what we're asking for and why we're asking for it. So first off, the proposed tax increase was advertised and is what we're proposing right now, is to raise the property tax on the Weber County portion 7.25%. That works out to be about $35.16 on an average home in Weber County. If that tax is implemented, it would generate an additional $3.9 million to Weber County Corporation. So now, a lot of people, when we published this notice, we had a number of people were calling in and they were asking, well, why are you raising taxes? You know, if I'm paying $3,700 worth of taxes, I can't pay another 7% on top of that. And that's not what we're asking. So as people look at their property tax notice, they'll see this little pie chart on the front of it, and they'll see the largest area in blue is the school districts. We're not in charge of the school district's tax rates. We don't get to raise taxes for the schools, nor can we cut taxes for the schools. They're their own separate entity. What we're talking about here is this little sliver of a pie, this orange slice that is the county line. So in this specific property tax notice, the county line makes up about 16% of the property tax bill. So now, as we talk about that, and you flip over your tax notice to the back, you can actually see what we're actually proposing to raise are these lines in yellow. So we're not even proposing to raise all the lines of the Weber County Corporation, just those lines in yellow, and we're proposing to raise those 7.25%. So how I like to explain this is if you go to the grocery store and the price of eggs goes up 7.25%, well, your whole grocery bill doesn't go up 7.25%, it's just the price of eggs. So yes, your grocery bill is going up. Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay, try it. No, it's still not working.
Okay. Am I okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So what we're talking about raising the 7.25% is just those lines that are highlighted up here in yellow. So it's not the entire property tax bill. So if somebody looks at their tax bill and they're paying $1,000, we're not proposing to raise that whole tax bill 7%. It's just the Weber County line. So another confusion that happened, a lot of the phone calls, people were looking at this notice of proposed tax increase. This is a format mandated by the state. We don't get to decide how this looks. And a lot of people were confused with this number right here, the estimated 2024 tax amount. And they were saying, well, wow, you're raising my taxes $520. And I'd say, no, that's actually not the case. So if you take the 2024 estimated amount and you take the 2023 amount that you're currently paying and you subtract those two amounts, that's what the tax increase is. So the taxes aren't going up $520 for this house. The taxes are going up $35.28.
Through my computer. Try that.
Okay. Are those online able to hear? Okay, hopefully that's a yes. So with that, well, that's what we're proposing is on average $35 on an average value home, about $486,000. So why Why is the real question. Why do we need a tax increase? And there's a couple of reasons. I want to hit 4 of them specifically. The first one that I don't think I need much or to explain much is inflation. Inflation is hitting everywhere. It's hitting all the county employees personally. It's hitting the county as a corporation. It's hitting all of our taxpayers. Inflation is hitting all the areas of the county. What that means is it costs us more to buy supplies. It costs us more to buy materials. It costs us more for just about everything that we're doing. Our fuel's up, our utilities are up. And there's nothing that we can do to control that. We can't control the inflation. It's just general in the economy, and everybody's facing that. The county jail is filling up. It's filling up with Weber County inmates. Now, in the past, we had beds in the jail that we would lease out or rent to the U.S. Marshal Services, and they would pay us for those beds. Every day that we had a federal inmate in there, we would receive money for that. What's happening now is that the jail is filling up with Weber County inmates. We're no longer able to lease those beds out to the federal government. We'll talk about more of that, about that in a second. We also are facing increased health insurance costs, and we're having stiff competition for employees in certain jobs. And so I'll hit some of these specifically. So inflation, if you look at the cost of inflation over the last 2 years, it's just gone crazy. Something that cost $100 in January 2021 now is going to cost you $118 for the same basket of goods. So this inflation, as you look at this trend, we've gone up significantly, and we have to do something to account for that. What we did when we looked at this tax increase, we tried to keep it as small as possible, and then we looked out and said, okay, well, what would this tax increase mean to our most vulnerable populations? And so what I did is I went out and I grabbed the average retiree payment on Social Security in 2023, October of 2023, and I annualized that amount. I compared that to October of 2022 and annualized that and compared those two numbers. So our most vulnerable citizens who are on Social Security retirement, on average, made $20,000 last year, in calendar year 2022, and this year they would make $22,000. So they got a $2,000 increase. What we're proposing, if they had the average home value, is $35.16, so that would be 1.25% of their increase. So while we didn't design the tax increase around that, we just wanted to show the effect of what it would be on our most vulnerable citizens. Plus, I wanted to point out that if anybody's making $22,000 a year, they should be qualifying for tax rebate programs. So anybody who's making or living just on Social Security and fixed income should reach out, look at your tax notice, and find the tax abatement programs and the assistance programs that we have. So I'm coming back to the federal marshals now. So what has happened is we're down $1.2 million in revenue, and the reason why we're down is we just don't have any more beds to lease out. We're filling them up with county inmates. But our costs are the same. It costs us the same amount of money to feed them. It costs us the same amount of money to transport them to and from court. It costs the same amount of money to clean the prisons. So we're just losing that revenue. And that's just because our jail is filling up with Weber County inmates. As the population increases and as our crime rate increases, it's just a factor of what it is. We have to be able to keep our community safe, and that means we can't lease out those excess beds anymore. Health insurance is another area where we've struggled a lot. Our health insurance costs are going up $1.4 million this year. That's up 14% from last year. This is the third year in a row that our increases have been 14% or higher. In fact, if you look since 2021, we are now paying $4 million more a year for the same coverage of insurance that we've had previously. Now, we are asking our county employees to pay a share of it, so the county pays 80 or 90% depending on what the plan is, and we ask the employees to pick up that other 10 or 20%. We did go out to bid. We went to 7 different healthcare providers. We asked them to bid on our health insurance because we're saying it's too expensive, these increases are too high. All 7 of them declined to bid, and they reached out to us and told us we better stay with our current provider because they can't even touch those rates. So the rates that we are getting with our current providers are still competitive in the market, although they continue to go up year after year after year. And then finally, I wanted to talk about a couple of different positions. So this is just an example of our county attorney's office. Now, there's a lot of data up here, and I'll focus in on just one of these specific lines, but I want you to look at that bar date. Those are the dates that the attorneys graduated, got their bar license, and were able to start working as licensed attorneys. The dates, so 2014 through 2021, these are attorneys that are in the first third of their career. And I just want to show the hourly wage of Weber County compared to Davis County, Salt Lake County, and the Attorney General's office. So if you look at someone in 2021, and I'll drill in on that 2021 a little bit, If you were working at Weber County at the start of 2023, you were going to make $38.11 an hour. That same attorney could make $48 an hour in Davis County, $54 an hour if they were working for the Attorney General's office, or $55 an hour if they were working for Salt Lake County. So as you look at those differences, you could go a couple miles down the road and make $21,000 more a year. Or if you wanted to go down to Salt Lake, you could make $33,000 or $36,000 a year. Now, Weber County is a great place to work, but we expect our attorneys to work hard. In fact, as you look at the caseloads of our attorneys, we have 18 prosecutors. We prosecuted 3,932 cases. That's on average 218 cases per prosecutor. When you compare that to Davis County, they prosecute on average 139 cases per prosecutor. And we compared to Utah County, they're at 118. So we're asking our attorneys to work for $20,000 less and do double the work. And what's happening is our attorneys are leaving. If you look at Davis County's attorney's office, nearly half of those attorneys came from Weber County. So we're paying to train them. We're getting them up to the skill set that we want, and then they're going to go work for a lot more money and not have to do as much work as they're doing here. So we have to make some adjustments to stay up. Now, we can talk about the reasons for this. The state gave a rather large increase to several different classes of employees, attorneys being one of them, and so we're just reacting to the market. When the state goes up $30,000 or $40,000 on what they're paying attorneys, we don't have any other choice but to react to that. Now, we're not trying to be higher than the state. We're not even trying to be on par with the state, but we have to be close enough to the state so that our attorneys aren't willing to drive down to Salt Lake to make $30,000 more a year. So what we're proposing in our budget is a 3% cost of living increase across the board. So every employee would get 3%. We also have performance-based increases, and that's based off of our employee goals and employee evaluations. An employee who is doing very well can get up to another 2% as part of their pay-for-performance program that we have. We're doing some targeted market adjustments between 0 and 4%. That's based off various positions and the longevity of those positions. And then for those attorneys and other positions that are just so far below the market, we're going to have to do something for them as well to get them up to the market, or at least close to the market, so we can retain our staff. It's a lot easier to retain them than it is to try to hire someone, train them, and then have them leave to go somewhere else. So the county didn't just decide to ask for all this money. We went through, we could have justified a tax increase that was almost double what we're asking for. But we didn't want to do that. And so what we did is we went to every department and we asked the departments to look at their ways, or look at their budgets and see ways that they can reduce it. And I was actually pleasantly surprised when 18 of the 23 general fund departments came back, cutting an average of 14% of their travel and training expenses and 2% of their other current expenses. We had 4 departments that voluntarily reduced their headcount, reducing it by a total of 6 FTEs. So we did have our departments go back and dig deep to try to help cover some of this shortfall, and the result is that we were able to save $2.7 million of ongoing expenditures. So that's $2.7 million we did not have to ask for in this property tax increase. Now the question is well, why do we have to do it? What if we just don't do anything about it? And that's a fair question. If we do not do anything, we're going to continue to struggle to hire and keep critical staff. I can't expect an attorney to work for $30,000 less a year and do double the work. It's just not realistic. I can't expect my line deputies, of which we have nearly 20% vacancy right now, to work for us for less than they can get paid anywhere else. They can go down to the state jail that's critically understaffed right now as well and get a higher paying job. We have to stay competitive in the market. We could also start deferring capital maintenance. Now that is a short-term gain but a long-term loss. If you stop doing oil changes in your car, okay, yeah, I can save 30 or 40 bucks a couple times a year, but then my car engine's going to burn out, 5 years earlier than it would have otherwise. Repairing and maintaining our facilities in good working order, while it costs a little bit now, it saves us a lot in the long run. And we also, if we don't do anything, we're going to have to start bonding or issuing debt for capital projects. And we have a parking structure that we have to build. We have an agreement when the old one was condemned that we would replace that in a few years. We have to do that. So we can either use the county funds that we have, or we can use all those one-time monies we have to pay ongoing expenses and burn through our savings account, and then when we need to replace that, we're going to have to go out and issue debt, and we're going to have to pay interest on it. So that's what happens if we don't do anything. So now I wanted to pull out a quote from the Taxpayers Association. They're a not-for-profit organization that's, their mission is to make sure that taxpayers, to be the advocate for taxpayers. And this is straight from their website. It says, we recommend that taxing entities issue a modest tax hike every 5 to 7 years to capture the impacts of inflation. More frequent increases implies poor budgeting, and less frequently generally means or forces a much larger tax increase at a later date. So commissioners, we could not raise taxes right now. We could start deferring maintenance. We could just let some of our employees go and not replace them. But what's going to happen is 2 or 3 or 4 years down the road, we're going to have to ask for a much larger tax increase to get back to where we need to be, plus to cover all those costs that we wouldn't have otherwise incurred if we've been able to just keep up on our regular repair and maintenance. So we did this, the last time we did this was in 2016. It was a larger tax increase because we hadn't done it for 10 plus years before that. And we decided at that time that we would much rather make small, minor adjustments to the tax rates every 5 to 7 years, as opposed to wait till we're in a bad spot and then do these large tax increases. And so that's what we're proposing to do today. So what we're proposing is a modest tax increase of $2.93 per month, or $35.16 per year on an average home, as a fiscally responsible solution. This adjustment in taxes will help bridge the gap, allowing us to continue providing critical services and support the needs of our workforce without causing a substantial financial burden on the residents. So the next steps, commissioners, we're going to receive public comment today and over the next week. After you have had a chance to receive and digest and process the feedback, we will meet together again on December 12th at 10 a.m. to adopt the final budget for 2024 with any approved tax increases. And with that, commissioners, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Scott. Great presentation. Commissioners, questions for Scott?
I don't at this time.
Commissioner Harvey?
No.
So, Scott, just a couple of clarifications. I think you brought them up, but I want to make sure that you're clear. So the tax increase is basically the 7.25% on 16% of what shows up on their tax notice approximately, not the full amount, which there has been some confusion on that.
Yeah, it's just on the Weber County, I call it Weber County Corporation portion of it. So that pie that was about 16%, it varies a little bit depending on where you live. So 16%, 14%, 18% is what you pay to the county, just depending on what the city.
And the last time that general fund tax increase took place was when?
The last time we raised the general fund rate was back in the 2016, is when we had the public hearings.
Okay. And then you mentioned public safety, i.e. the jails, and the number of inmates that we have now from Weber County. Do you have an idea of what % of our total budget goes into public safety, i.e. jails?
So,
that, again, I think that we're required under state law to provide.
So public safety, which includes jails, it also includes our CSI, our crime scene investigators. Right. It includes a couple other things. So that's about 54% of our total general fund budget.
So a little over 50%.
Yeah, over 50%.
Okay. All right. And then you brought up the attorneys and the competition we're seeing for attorneys. I've received a number of inquiries. Why do we need the attorneys? Why can't we just get by with less?
So the
That's probably a fair question for our county attorney, but
we are mandated to provide services. So if our county attorney prosecutor charges someone, we're required by statute to provide for a public defender to defend that person. So I guess we could ask our county attorney to stop prosecuting crimes, and if we asked him to stop prosecuting crimes, then maybe we wouldn't have to pay to stop defending people because they wouldn't be arrested and they wouldn't be in prison. But that's the quality of life that we want. We want our community safe, and so we're willing to invest the money in our public safety to prosecute these crimes. And we're asking our public attorneys to do a lot with a lot less than what other departments are doing. So they have a higher caseload, and we're not paying them as much. And I mean, you can't blame them when they want a better quality of life where they don't have to work as much and they get paid a lot more to do it.
yeah, no, and I agree. And I think if you look at those numbers, we're asking our attorneys to do a lot more for no more, and actually in most cases less than they'd receive if they went other counties or the state. Mm-hmm. So does that conclude your presentation?
Yeah, and I just wanted to clarify, we have made a couple of adjustments to attorneys this year because we were so far behind. We had people with offers in hand. So we've done some fixes, we've done some Band-Aids by giving one-time bonuses, and they're waiting for the passage of this budget to see what they're going to do. And we have other attorneys that we haven't fixed. So it's a problem that we've started to work on, but we have not yet solved it.
Okay. Great. Thank you for that presentation. Anything else before we let Scott go?
I do just have one question, Scott. So you mentioned the attorney adjustments that have been made and that we're waiting for the possible passage of this increase to fix that. Would this amount that we're proposing fix that?
So
Bring them into their market rate range?
we're getting them close. We're never going to be
Right.
the highest
Right.
paying attorney's office. We're probably never even going to be above the average.
Right.
But we have to be close enough that somebody's willing to work here for $2 or $3 less an hour, because we do offer a great work environment. The attorney's office is great. Chris Crockett is great to work with. So people will work here because of the quality of life that we can provide, the atmosphere we can provide, but they won't work here for $30,000 less
Right.
for a great atmosphere.
So my question is, do you feel like what we're proposing would get us into a position where we're okay there? We're within the range that we can get those folks to stay.
I believe so. So we work with our Human Resources Department to do the
Great.
actual market analysis, and I'm relying on information that they've provided, but based off of that information, we're getting them to where we think they need to be in order to stay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Scott. Great presentation. Let's now go to our public comment section. So what we're going to do is give those people the opportunity to come up and speak for no more than 3 minutes. How many people in the audience are here to speak on this? All right, and what I'm going to do, I'd ask, we're going to run this like a legislative session. We'll take one in favor, one opposed, one in favor, so we'll alternate. If there's no one that wants to alternate, we'll just take. We do have a set deadline. We had this an hour and a half, so we'll take an hour and a half from the time we start. Hopefully it won't take that long, but we're making sure. We want the comments addressed on the presentation of the budget. Anything else that would be brought up, you'll be called out of order because that's not on the agenda. We're not allowed under state law. So this will be questions or comments on the budget. If you have questions about the budget, we'll take note of those, and if Mr. Park or Stephanie Ebert can answer those, we'll have them come up at some point in time and answer. But we won't be making any direct answers from the podium. So go ahead. Again, what we ask is your name, where you live, and the time clock will start.
My name's Brian Gray from Pleasant View. I'm going to start off with the county spending about $900,000 a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year already. Taxes have almost doubled in the 10 years that I've been here in Weber County. My salary has not. It will cost me $30,000 to keep my paid-off home over the next 10 years as I go into retirement. I'd say learn from the Justice Center vote about taking more money from us. Every organization on the tax bill claims they just want a little bit more. And I'd suggest going to a zero-based budget. And also, I believe our speaker missed the 4.5% in 2021 that tax raise that we had gotten. And is that poor budgeting? Because according to what he read off, that if you did it any more than 5 years, it was poor budgeting. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening.
Evening.
I'm Donna Forshey, and I live at 1242 Innsbrook Drive in Huntsville. I wrote down what I'm going to say so I can be quick.
Thank you.
Sorry, we have to do this again. Just put this right here. What do you want me to say?
No, just move your paper and
Oh.
put this here, and then they can hear it through this
Oh, okay.
speaker.
Okay. I'm a retiree who's worked hard my whole life and own my one home in Ogden Valley. I agree that the county employees deserve a raise. However, I disagree with you raising my taxes when you don't bother to collect the full rate of taxes from those who own multiple homes and are not full-time residents of Utah. Can you hear me?
I can hear it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, keep going. Thank you.
In the neighborhood where I live, there are 32 homes. I've gone through the Weber County GeoGizmo interactive map site and looked up the different land parcels and reviewed the tax history from each lot. And I found 4 homes that are getting full-time resident taxable value discount, the 55% of market value, and they are not full-time residents. 4 homes out of 32 is 10%. sampling, which tells me it's probably 10% of the valley that aren't paying their full share of taxes that are due to Weber County. So Weber County is missing out on probably hundreds of thousands of dollars when you see some of the values of the homes up there. From what I understand, local real estate management companies tell their clients that you don't check. And it's a simple matter of homeowners to set up post office boxes and for a nominal fee, have their mail forwarded to their homes in other states. I spoke to the tax assessor's office and was told that you go by the honor system and you don't require proof of full-time residency. Weber County has the Utah driver's license database and the voter registration database. So all you have to do is cross-reference those databases against your tax database, and if there's no matchup, flag those addresses and send them a letter requesting proof of full-time residency or lose the discounted tax rate. Proof should include a Utah driver's license, but you can't accept utility bills because that just proves the address, not that they live there full-time. So before you press the easy button and simply raise taxes on everyone, please do your due diligence and collecting taxes that are due by checking that full-time residency. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That's an assessor question, and we'd be happy to pass that information on to Mr. John Ulibarri. Next, please come forward.
I don't know if anybody's in favor, but I guess if so, they probably should take it before me.
No, go ahead.
I'm opposed. Pamela McKinnon, Plain City, Utah. I have a couple of questions. First off, when Scott talked about every department reducing their budget at least 18 out of 23 and what percentage that was, again, Scott said that the travel budget was 1%. So whatever they gave up out of their travel budget, the travel budget's 1%, okay? I'm all for people being paid fairly. But as I add up the potential for county employees to receive an increase, COLA 3%, potential performance increase 2%, and then if it's determined that the market warrants a 4%, that could be a total of 9%. Okay, so I'm going to say that probably not everybody will warrant that, but that is the potential. Employees of other private industry businesses, for starters, do not make a COLA. Okay, so you can take that 3% off of everybody who doesn't work for government. Okay, so that's 3% we're not getting on top of this to compensate us for inflation. I would say that every department should be reduced by the amount of inflation if you're going to ask us for more money. In addition to that, speaking about the attorney's office, just like school teachers or anything else, okay, choice is made not just regarding the amount of money that you're making. Scott also mentioned that this is a great place to work, so choices are choices are choices where you work. So we all want to make the most bang for our buck, but sometimes you make a different decision for different reasons. And when Scott also says that's still not going to bring us right up to par, you know, what's going to happen next? How much more are we going to be asked to give? I concurred with him on the tax increase that we did actually have to be given as well in 2021. We were hit with a double digit in 16. I'm just a no on any additional money. What else was my... I also wanted to know what your turnover rate in the attorney's office was. We can all say we could go somewhere else and make more money, but I want to know what exactly the turnover rate is. So I guess that will hold until next time. I think that's all I had, but I am... well, I also want to know how much putting a new flag up everywhere is going to cost in the budget, because I can see that we have the new flag up here that doesn't go into effect until March 9th. So if anybody has a question about that, see me after. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We'll have Scott come up at some point in time and try to answer those questions for you. I think Commissioner Harvey's making note of those. All right, please come forward.
My name is David Hansen. I live at 3048 East, 4100 North in Liberty. And I will be brief. We moved into the Valley, Liberty, kicked somebody out of their home, didn't build. Somebody left and we moved in, so we didn't increase the population there. But we bought into our home for $740,000. The tax assessor, the assessor, appraised our home at over $1 million this year. I had some medical issues, wasn't able to reply and put in a an issue or request some sort of help for that, I will be certainly doing that next year. But the home value went up 20% one year. The school taxes went up over double digit, 25% on my home. The county taxes went up. They reappraised the home. The taxes went up there. Now this 7.25%. I've been hit within 2 years with over a 30% increase in my taxes on my home. I had to tighten my belt. I expect the county to be able to do the same. I appreciate the presentation that was given. I've been president of a water association. I understand inflation. I understand cost increases, but it's death by cuts. We've been hit so hard over the last couple of years with these tax increases, and it isn't just the county. It's all of them together. And I agree with paying full price. I pay $8,000 in a second home up in Wasatch County. Or I pay, I'm honest. I don't live there full time. I agree with that. That's a great point. I think we need to find more control. We need to find out those that really are not second home or that are second homeowners and make them pay their fair share of taxes. So please understand and consider that it's death by cuts, and I'm retired, mostly retired, and I'm no longer getting any 3, 5, 7, 20, 30% tax or income increases anymore. And this is gonna have a significant impact on me and my life for the next however many years I'm able to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Henson. Next.
My name's Carrie Casper, and I live in Ogden. I've been retired since 2010. I had a fixed income at that point. It doesn't get any more money than that, and every year it keeps going up and up and up. I bought my house. I'm going to stay there till I die. Whatever the price is that you say is increased, it's not going to be any different than, it's just paper, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how I'm going to keep paying that. I know in other states, once you retire, the taxes you have, it's set at that point, and it doesn't go any higher than that. And not here. It just keeps going up. You're going to be in that same positions, guys, down the road a piece. And you're going to have to be paying extra and extra. The last 2 years, well, the last 5 years, I've paid maybe double of what I started off with. I can't keep doing it. I mean, it cuts into food. I mean, medical. I mean, anything else you want to talk about.
Thank you for that.
Hi, my name is Kim Casper, and I live in Ogden. I would like to address what Scott talked about with the Social Security income and the increase. What he fails to point out is that, yeah, you get the COLA, cost of living adjustment, and for next year it's 3.2% for Social Security. However, what he did not say and did not point out is that Medicare then turns around and takes that increase in the form of higher monthly premium, higher deductible. So there's not an increase of that $2,000, and that's just based on an average number that he said Social Security gets. I am on Social Security, and I don't get that much. And I did apply. He did say then, if you're making this, then you apply for the financial help. I did, and was turned down. I don't want to be priced out of my home that I have worked my whole life to get. To buy a home is like an amazing accomplishment, and I don't want to lose my home because I can't afford to keep paying this when I don't get that kind of increase. You know, and the increase they're talking about with Social Security, no, we're just trading dollars with Medicare. So, thank you.
Thank you for that. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Kathy Gambles, and I live in South Ogden, and I'm glad that I live in Weber County and that I pay taxes in Weber County. I stand as a harmony in the opposites when what we've been hearing. I've had a lot of birthdays. I'm on a fixed income. I'm on a tight budget, and I completely support this tax increase because my life would not be nearly what it is if it were not for the benefits that I receive from the programs in Weber County. The library is a gift in so many different ways and is so much more than a place to borrow books. That's a gathering place. That's a place where I go twice a week for a general movement class, where I go to book discussions, where I meet people at Prego Cafe in the Southwest Branch. It's a gathering place for people to come to be together, to be on their own in a wonderful, inviting environment. We are very fortunate in Weber County to have the Weber County Library System, which has many, many wonderful benefits for us, but so many more than are in the counties around because of the very positive way, wise way that money is spent, so that for $1 budgeted, there's $8 returned. Because my money is tight, it's hard to come up with subscriptions and different services, but I can use the library subscription services. Instead of buying the books or DVDs, I can borrow them. There's so many opportunities that I have that way that really benefit me. The Weber Morgan Health Department provides so many opportunities. I can get my vaccinations there. I have so many different programs that are available, and statistically, that, let me find my, statistically, falls are the leading cause of death and injury among people over 65 years old. Because of Weber Morgan Health Department, I attend a Tai Chi class 3 times a week. And Tai Chi is, helps with the balance, flexibility, and posture, but it reduces falls by 55%. I have attended the 8-week stepping on class that the health department provides, and it provides community experts to bring awareness of ways to decrease falls by 30%.
Kathy, that's the end of your time. Could you wrap it up?
Sorry, I was so involved here, I forgot to look there. I am very grateful for the way that Weber County spends money in providing the services for me. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Next.
Yes, the name is Gary McKay, and I've lived here most all my life, but I graduated over in Hawaii, on Oahu and stuff, so I've been around Arizona, California. And anyway, I love to see everything around here still, because I ended up back here. And the McKay family came and is up in Huntsville. And I feel sorry for those that are getting moved out, pushed out. Okay, so I'm with them as far as what's going on with not even just the taxes, but the rentals and summer homes, winter homes. So they're kind of getting pushed out, and I feel bad, especially for the elderly. I am retired, like the lady that was just up here. Hey, I love the Golden Hour Center. I love Riverdale, their center out there. I can go out there and enjoy BSing with the guys and really enjoy my life after 44 years of working at one job. So I put some years in, and now I'm enjoying it. Now, with the taxes and everything, our population, I'm pretty sure everybody's seen it go up. Have you seen all the cars out there? Yes. It's ridiculous. But it's not just a small group anymore. Everybody's got a pocket, and I don't know if these people are working out there, because I see them out there all day long, from morning till night. I don't know what they're doing. But as far as inflation, they're spending money. One way or another, they're spending money. But anyway, I've never complained about taxes. I even own a second home. Okay, not here. But paying taxes, you always want to see something like public services. They put the new Liberty School up by me. We don't have a dead-end street anymore, and we've got 1,000 cars coming in and out of there every day. And the cars were leaving parts of their cars with the potholes. I mean, bumpers, headlights, and we've got children walking in that area also. And it's right on top of 32nd Hill. And some of them cars come up fast. It's dangerous. Where's safety? Anyway, so, you know, with tax money, one thing I would like to see, I'm not so much saying, I'm not really for it, but because I don't see anything done with it. And I've looked at wages, I've looked at earnings with the cities and the counties, and you know, there's a lot of 6-digit numbers there on payrolls.
Appreciate those remarks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, please come up.
Hi, I'm Bill Shirtliff. I live in Washington Terrace. And I appreciate all the services that, as well, that come to us through our government entities. And I really don't disagree with everything that was presented tonight as far as the tax increase. But it's still a concern where for those of us who are retired and have pretty much a fixed income, it's, you know, seeing a future of tax increases over time is, you know, it requires a lot of budgeting on our part. I've lived in my home in Washington Terrace for 30 years, and probably for the first 20 years, my property taxes were in the neighborhood of between $2,000 and $4,000. But all of a sudden, last year, 2022, with the crazy real estate market, the way it went, the market value of my home almost doubled, and my property taxes went up $1,200 in 1 year. And so, and this year, the real estate market has softened, and but the appraisal of my home didn't soften much. And so I'm continuing to pay that extra almost $1,200 a year now, and not really seeing a decrease. So I'm concerned. And I also, last year I think it was attributed mostly just to the market value of my home. I don't think there was any special budget increases or requests for tax increases or anything. It was just the market value of the home that did it. So anytime I see a request for increased taxes, if it increases another $50 to $100 or $200 a year, that makes a big difference. So I not saying I know any of the answers for any of this, yeah, because I appreciate the services that we do have. And it's just tough to budget and know that those increases come. Hopefully we don't see $500 to $600 or $1,200 increase every year. You know, that just doesn't work for most of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please come up.
My name's Tamara Taylor. I live in Liberty. But for the last 18 years, I lived in South Ogden, the same house, same property. And I just went back out of curiosity to see how much my taxes had gone up. Just since 2010, they've nearly tripled. Of course, this year we were in another house, and that one was an additional 15% this year. You know, these increases are 5, 6, 7, 8. I had a $900 increase in 2023. That's not just a little amount, and when you add another $60, which is what my estimated tax increase would be with this proposal, it just keeps going. We just go, when do we get some relief? Okay, we are cutting our budgets. We're hacking our budgets, trying to just buy groceries. So I just am asking for some relief for the taxpayer. We're constantly getting hit. It seems like to me, when you're getting that much of an increase in my property taxes every year, you're getting an increase every year. How come that is not enough? I just really would hope that there would be a fairer way to assess taxes than the value, supposedly the market value of our homes. That doesn't help us at all unless we're selling a home. We won't get any benefit from that, but our taxes continue to be raised just because the value of our home has supposedly gone up. Like the one gal suggested, how about a cap at a certain point or for a certain income or something? There has to be a fairer way to do that, and I'm just asking you to come up with a better way and give us some relief.
Thank you. Next.
My name is Reed Miller from North Ogden. I just want to make it aware that the people of Weber County have voiced that they do not want any more taxes with regard to that safety situation, safety building. They have voiced. And so if you go against the people, what will you do? That's what you're doing, is going against the people by continually to increase taxes.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name's Gene, and I'm from Slaterville, Utah.
I'm sorry, Gene?
Yeah, Gene Zvonek, Slaterville. This might be for the legislature, but yeah, the evaluation of the property, it went up $1,500 in 1 year. So my proposal would be maybe you should only reevaluate when the property changes hands, when it's sold. You know? That's how other states do it in California and New York. So elderly people are not moved out of their homes. So they're not forced out of their homes. So they just pay same taxes, and when the home is sold, the new owner will pay whatever he paid for it. And then it should be reevaluated. I understand that people from California and from other states come in here and pay way more than the house is worth, then they should pay the taxes on that. If they buy, you know, if the original owner bought a house for $200,000 and someone from California comes in and pays $600,000, then the new owner should pay the $600,000 tax. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't know if this will do any difference here. Maybe I should go to the legislature and say that, but anyway, thanks.
Thank you for being here. Next.
Shanna Francis, Eden. I think to me, the elephant in the room is, it's easy to say only the county collects only a small portion of the taxes, that it's the fire district, it's the school district, other districts that are shooting our costs up for our taxes. But the bottom line is, it's you, the commissioners, in much of the county, that work with developers and realtors, subsidizing some of them in some instances, and encouraging, paying marketing agencies to market Weber County. You're doing everything you can to bring people here, which pushes up our property values and what we have to pay. It creates housing shortages. And then you want higher and more dense housing, and housing takes away its costs. It costs everyone to pay for housing. It does bring some commercial development. That's great. But by doing that, you're increasing the schools. We have to build more schools. We have to build more jails. And I'm a big believer in families. I believe in growth and development, natural growth and development. We don't have to market it just because you have real estate or development issues. And I think the county needs to quit blaming it on everyone else and take ownership for their part in this. Thank you.
Okay, next.
Good evening. My name is Robert Gerhardt. I live in Ogden. I moved here 6 years ago, and I've watched my property taxes increase about $1,500 since I moved into my house. In my household, I have a tight budget. I don't get to work, and I don't get to work a whole bunch of overtime in my job. I have a fixed budget for what we purchase in my household. And over the past couple years, I've watched my grocery bill go from $400 for a family of 5 for the month to $1,000, $1,100. I have to make cuts in my household in order to afford groceries to feed my family. Why can't Weber County do the same? Instead of putting it on the backs of the taxpayers, I don't get to go around to my neighbors and say, I'm going to take some money from you guys so I can afford my bills. I work with the budget that I have in my household. We need to be able to make some more cuts and do the same for the county and not put it on the backs of the taxpayer. And I'm not saying that the county workers and our first responders don't deserve the pay increases. Everybody, it's been said here before, everybody deserves a fair pay. But the taxes that have been increased year after year after year, inflation, year after year after year, everybody is tired of it. Everybody is tired of it. And the easy thing is to go, yeah, we're going to just increase taxes. Nobody's going to gripe about it. But there are a lot of people here opposing, and I'm going on record saying I oppose this. We don't need to increase tax and take away from the residents of Weber County. We can all do an internal look at our budgets and make some more cuts to do our jobs as necessary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Tina Allred from Eden. And I've always heard that it's good to come with solutions instead of just complaints. So I'm going to suggest a couple of things for you. I am against this tax increase. I think everybody's made good points as to how they're just stretched. We've never seen anything like this inflation that's going on right now, and it's affecting everybody. But I do want to address the part-time residents up in the valley. I do think there's a large chunk of revenue that you're not collecting because of that. And I think that if you were to take and even hire a full-time person to do nothing but that, it would more than pay for itself, and it would probably solve your problem. So I would encourage you to look at that. The other thing I'd like to mention is maybe the county attorney could look at who we're prosecuting. Are we prosecuting people for small amounts of possession in drugs? Would they be better off in some treatment facility and not taking up a bed, so that we can free up those beds to bring the federal prisoners back and restore that income? That might be something to look at. I know these are things that aren't as easy as just pushing the easy button and making a tax increase, but I think that would be a more responsible way to get the revenue that you need. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
I also have lived in Ogden my whole life, and we have been retired 9 years, and I live by Weber State, just off of the Event Center, and boy, talk about increase in taxes. It's been 500 the last 3 years, and it's just gone crazy.
Can you give us your name, ma'am?
Oh, Susie Bononis.
Okay, thank you.
But what bothers me is that what's going on with the land and things that are being developed. Well, where's all that tax money going? All those apartment buildings down 40th Street. Who's paying for all that when we've sold that land and we've got all these apartment buildings? Aren't they bringing enough revenue in for us? Why do we, who have lived in our homes and want to keep our homes, which you're running us out of them by taxing us so much on our budgets, where's all that tax money going? Especially when I've been increased and all my neighbors, that's a lot of revenue coming in. And then you want more? I'm wondering where all that money goes. And I know you're doing big projects, like the bus thing. Oh my God, that thing's a dinosaur. Why did they build a bus on Harrison with all that billions of dollars that nobody's riding the bus? But Weber State's getting new stadium, all new lights, we're giving all our money to Weber State. Give it to us that own our homes and give us a break on stuff. I think we're wasting money. I really think that they need to look at the budget and see bad decisions that we've made in real estate and building. I mean, that Jack in the Box that they put on the corner there with no parking, we can't even get up into our homes because the lines are taking it. We have to have a security policeman come and line people up to go into a Jack in the Box. I mean, whatever's going on with all this building and all of this overtaxing, it's ruining my quality of life. It really is. It's frustrating to everybody. And they're getting the revenue from someplace because they're selling and building. Where's all that revenue going? But they keep asking us for more and more. That's why everybody voted against the jail, because you guys should be getting enough taxpayer. If you're bringing in all these people, then use them for the, to pay for the beds of the jail and the sheriffs and police. So, okay. That's my frustration.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Lonnie Crockett, and excuse me, I live in Huntsville.
Good evening,
Freud,
Lonnie.
my back door neighbor. Known him for a long time.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. I stand here a little bit perplexed because I think that all of you have already made your minds up. I really do. I think when we come in here, it's kind of an exercise in futility. I've been to so many of these hearings, and it never goes the taxpayer's way, or rarely. And if it does, it's very little consolation. I think you have these hearings because the law requires it, because I think you make your minds up before these hearings even take place. But anyway, I live in the valley. I've lived up there for over 30 years, and I see all these huge multi-million-dollar homes being built, even over on the Huntsville side. It's nice that they are built and they increase our property values, which is good for the homeowner, but it also increases our taxes. And I'm in the tax business, and so I think things differently about taxation. I'm not, this country was founded on taxation without representation, and I'm not too fond of it with representation. But, oh, wait, you guys don't represent us, do you? You don't represent the taxpayer. You represent those behind the scenes that we don't see. But these multi-million-dollar homes, they come in at, say, a $5 million home and increases our taxes. Don't you collect tax on the $5, $6 million homes? Don't you collect the tax from them as well? So why don't you just take the tax from them based on their property values and leave us alone? We are paying through the nose for taxes. We pay taxes on everything, sometimes 3 or 4 times on the same dollar. Property tax, income tax, sales tax. It's just getting to the point to where the services that we get are not worth what we're paying in taxes. In fact, I think in the valley, I haven't done any number crunching, but I think that most of the taxes that we collect, that are collected from Ogden Valley, don't even stay in Ogden Valley, or a good portion of it doesn't. Anyway, I implore you, think of the taxpayers. I know you're a taxpayer too, but some reason you never side with the taxpayer. That's what just irks me. Why doesn't somebody stand up and say, hey, these taxpayers are losing their homes, the elderly. I had 2 clients of mine this year that came in to have their taxes done at my business, and they could not. They said they didn't know, were hoping that they would get a refund so that they could pay their property taxes. But anyway, it's egregious. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name's Susie Leland, and I live in Ogden, Utah. And I just wanted to make a couple comments. I'm definitely not in support of raising taxes right now. I would like you guys to reconsider and take some of the advice that you've heard today about the people that don't live here full-time and do an audit on that and see if you can make up for your tax increase with that. Also, regarding paying Salt Lake City wages, I have 2 companies in Ogden, and we don't have the luxury of paying our employees Salt Lake City wages. Unfortunately, we lose people to that and we let them go because they're going to make the commute. A lot of times they end up coming back to our company because they find out how expensive it is to commute every single day for a couple hours in that traffic. I would recommend maybe thinking about getting a headhunter and paying a one-time fee and not paying a repetitive increase in wages year after year for somebody who wants Salt Lake wages. In Weber County, you might find that there's people that you can recruit that love living in Weber County as opposed to Salt Lake City. It's definitely got more of a small town feel, and some people really value that, and I think it's important if you could find a recruiter that is good at doing that. You might be able to save money on paying the increased Salt Lake City wages. The last comment I had was on the presentation today. I honestly felt like I was at a used car dealership where the car salesman was trying to sell me the car based on how low he can get my monthly payment. And that's all they wanted to talk about, as opposed to the total cost of the car, which would be adding the $35 to what the average person has to already pay and focusing on those percentages and the burden that is on the average middle income person in Weber County. So, and also my last comment is, do you guys ever do benchmarking? Do you ever find another county that we're similar to and compare what you guys have as a budget and what you're spending and in what programs, and to see how you compare with your peers in that department? I would love to hear about that in a presentation as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next.
My name's Linda Binkley, and I'm from South Ogden. And I, again, that I'm not in favor of the property tax increase. My home value has gone up, which effectively makes my property tax go up. I see all these apartments everywhere in Weber County. They're everywhere in Utah. And I'm wondering, where do those taxes, where do they go? I mean, all these people are coming in, and there are more cars on the roads. The roads are kind of disintegrating from all the traffic. traffic jams at rush hour is pretty close to Washington DC numbers and stuff. I just am wondering, where are the property taxes from these apartment buildings? You know, they were undeveloped land and now they're developed. Doesn't that property tax come back to this county? Where do they go? Why do my individual taxes on my property have to go up for all these other things? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next.
Hi, I'm Roland Miller. I live here in Ogden. I'm not going to be popular, so I'll get that out of the way. Right away, with them, not with the tax increase. No one's for tax increases. No one would come here and say, please raise our taxes. But if I'm not good with math, but if I'm doing my math right, basically, inflation is 18%. You guys are asking us to kick in 1.75%, and the county is reducing their spending by, not in total, but of that 18% by 16.25%. So I think you guys are doing a pretty good job of picking up that slack. I guess the problem is, if we don't raise taxes, then you have to cut services. And if 54% of the budget is public safety, that's going to lead to more crime, that's going to lead to more issues, which is going to drag the place down, which is going to cause people not to want to live here, which is going to drag your property values down. I know they didn't pass the Justice Center, but I think that we get a lot for what we pay for taxes. I think it's worth, I think you have to look at it like this. For each of us, if it's $35 on average per person, to you that may be a lot of money, and I appreciate that. But for the county, all that money gets piled together, and it's a lot of money. It's not just $35, it's a lot of money. And and cuts will be made, and then you'll be complaining about the streets, and then you can be complaining about public safety and other things that have been cut. So I think you have to look at it, and I realize taxes are going up everywhere. You have to compartmentalize this. This is really important for this county, this money. And my only complaint is I wish we could be more proactive. I wish more money could go to things like the library and the senior centers and other things like that are very proactive, which would, in the long term, hopefully bring down the percentage that we spend on public safety. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next. Stacy, was there any comments online?
So, people online are not, well, you can take public comment now, because they can hear us through the microphone from my computer, so.
Can they speak? Can we hear them speak?
Yeah. So
just ask anyone online.
so we can hear them through here. So anyone online that's listening to us like to ask a question or make a comment? Maybe not.
We're also watching it on YouTube where they can hear.
Hands raised.
Does anyone online have any public comment?
So the question is, can you please tell me what services are provided for the Sunridge community? We pay taxes, we pay our own water and roads. There are no kids in school. We've all had to cut out a lot of items to keep paying our bills. We can't keep asking for a raise without providing value. That's the Sunridge. We'll have Scott Park address that when he comes up. That's the only one I see. That was involving the Sunridge. development. All right, let's see no one. Go ahead, come on up. And then after this, we'll go to Scott Park to answer some questions. Go ahead.
Okay, Bruce Alstrom in Huntsville. What I see is we hear that there's just going to be this, small tax increase, and actually it's a tax rate increase. Our tax has been increasing for a long time. And as I watch the property values have gone up, I think I don't understand how our tax revenue hasn't grown hugely over the last few years. And so I don't see a need for tax rate increase because the tax revenue coming in from increased property values has got to be huge. I just understand that. And I also feel like something's been said about, do you represent us? Or sometimes I think you represent developers and people with big money, because there's a lot of money going to some developers right now. And some was earlier on your agenda earlier. So, and we talk about inflation. And as long as we grab this money from the federal government, keep spending, we're helping to create the inflation by having the Federal Reserve, print money out of nowhere. The federal government gives it to us, and we're fast to grab it and give it out. So I think we're part of the cause of the inflation, but I think that we need to just realize that our tax revenues have been huge. I don't see a need for the tax rate increase right now. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that. Scott, do you want to come up? Sure. And then you got I think Commissioner Harvey has the questions written down, so we'll try to go through and answer some of those questions that were asked.
I did pull some numbers on the attorneys, or had staff help me get some numbers on the attorney's office turnover rates as well as Chris Crockett, so we do have some of those information.
Okay.
There's a few things I don't have answers for I've been trying to get, but I don't know where Sunridge Development is. Is that in the valley? Or I'm not sure where that is.
Sunridge is up past Red Rock.
It's past Red Rock. It is an unincorporated.
Okay.
Now, part of that
in the
may be
Ogden
in
Valley?
cash, though, as well.
Part of it may be in Cache County.
Not sure.
Okay. So I was writing down some questions too. Do you want me to go through some of the ones that I have?
Yeah, go ahead. The ones you wrote down, let's do those.
Okay. So I'll start first with, so 2021. So the county did raise property taxes in 2021, but it wasn't for the general operations. It was for two specific things. In 2013, the county went out for a bond, a general obligation bond. Citizens voted to build and renovate libraries. What they didn't do at that time was vote to fund the staff that it took to operate those new libraries. So what we did in 2021 is we levied a tax specific to the library, not to the general operations, not to the general fund, to the library, which is its own fund, to cover the cost of operations. So the total taxes went up about $2.2 million. Of that, about half went to the library. And then we created a new fund, the flood control fund, and that money, another about $1 million is going in there. So it's not general fund revenues. Those are two separate rates. And so when I mentioned before, the county has, $350 million of expenditures, of which you really control about $100 million. We have different funds that track all these. So I can't take the flood control money and use it to pay police officers. It's dedicated for flood control. We told the public we were going to raise it for flood control. I can't use it for anything else. Same thing with the libraries. We raised the taxes for the library operations. It can't be taken from the library operations and given to my attorney's office or my public safety. It's in a different fund. If we want to do that, we would have to go through public notices, just like we're doing here. We would have to say, look, we're going to lower the tax rate here, we're going to raise the tax rate over here, and do that swap. So I do understand the confusion. So the county did raise its levy on the library and flood control in 2021, but it was not a general fund operation. So that, they're correct that we did raise taxes there, but I just wanted to clarify, not a general operation, not a general fund tax increase.
How many years was that levy?
The levy for the library and the flood control was raised in 2021.
I know, but how many years is it, like a 20-year levy?
No, so those levies were raised ongoing, so it's an ongoing increase. So we built a new library, and that new library, not unless we change the scope of services that we're providing. So if we got rid of a library or two, then we wouldn't necessarily need to fund all that, but as long as we have those libraries, we need to fund the libraries. So there were several questions related to the attorney's office turnover. So we have 18 prosecutors that work for our criminal attorneys. We also have some that work for our civil attorneys. So added together, we have about 24 county attorneys, not counting public defenders. I was only able to pull we just barely started our public defender office a little while ago, so I don't have good stats on that. Of those 24, we only have 4 that have been with the county more than 10 years. Of those 24, 20 of them have been here 10 years or less. And of those 20, 13 have actually been here less than 5 years. So what we do is we train our attorneys, we get them experienced, and then we let them go someplace else. So-
What's your attrition rate then, or what's your turnover? That's not a turnover rate, that's telling me these guys have been here 5
Sure,
years, these guys have
sure.
been
No,
here
that's fair.
10 years, these guys.
So I do have the attrition rates, yeah. So since 2017, I don't have all the dates, we've lost 10 attorneys. We lost 6 to Davis County, 3 to Roy, and 1 to Weber State. Since August of this year, we've had 3 attorneys receive offers. We were able to keep 2 of them by promising them we're going to do something. We lost 1. So
So
that's
we're not going to take any questions from Scott from the audience.
sorry.
You can go offline afterwards and ask those questions. but-
Apologize, yeah.
Go ahead, Scott.
Okay. So there were various questions about taxes and, can we change the way taxes are levied so that senior citizens don't pay or it doesn't change? And that's completely beyond our control. Weber County Corporation has no ability to change those. Those are set by the state statute. We don't have any ability to adjust how property taxes are levied. So if there were a movement like in California to fix the property taxes based off of the price that you pay when you buy the home, that would have to be something that's taken up at the state legislature. We don't have any ability to do that. There were some questions about, okay, well, all these homes are going up in value. Where's all that money? And this is the hard part when we come to property taxes. Just because your home goes up in value doesn't mean the county gets any more money. In fact, we don't get any more money. The only time Weber County Corporation receives more money is if somebody builds a new home or somebody builds a new business. If your home goes up in value compared to your neighbors, you may be paying a higher share of the pie, but the pie doesn't grow any bigger. Utah is a revenue neutral state, which means when the home values go down, your taxes stay the same. When your home values go up, your taxes stay the same. Now, your percentage of the pie is changing all the time based off of your home's value compared to everybody else's home's value in the county. So last year and the year before, home values shot up. At the same time, business values went down. So what that meant is that the homeowners now were paying a larger share of the pie, and the business owners were not. Now, that's not Weber County getting any more money, but that's the pie being shifted so that the homeowners were bearing a greater burden and the businesses were bearing less of a burden. So that's the way property taxes work in Utah. Again, we don't really have the ability to change those statutes. Those are set at the state level, but that's why people see as their values go up, well, they need to compare their tax rates, and their values compared to everybody else. They may be paying a larger share of the pie because their value went up higher than somebody else's. They're kind of complex, and so if anybody has specific questions, I'm happy to talk to them about that offline, and we can pull up their specific parcel and I can show them the different tax rates. We had some questions on the Social Security increase and Medicare taking a portion of that. That is true. I don't know exactly how much Medicare takes, but costs go up all the way around. So just because you're making $2,000 more in Social Security doesn't mean you have $2,000 more. You're paying for inflation just like everybody else is. So I didn't mean to imply that there was $2,000 extra to pay taxes. It just means that we tried to compare our tax increase to what other people were getting. We realize there are other expenses out there. Fuel goes up for everybody. Home food prices go up for everybody. There were several questions about short-term rentals, as I understood it, and also vacation homes versus primary homes in the Upper Valley. Now, the assessor is in charge of making sure that those are correct. It is a challenge, I will say that. I don't have specifically all the answers as to how we can do that better. We do have some software that scours Airbnb, VRBO, and all those types of things to try to find addresses that are being listed in different areas of Weber County so that we can then research those homes to see, hey, look, you have a primary home exemption here, but you're leasing out your house. So we do try to look at those, but I will say it is a struggle and it is hard because what if you're leasing your house out for 30 days a year and you live at it the remaining 11 months? So it's not as straightforward as just pulling up an address on VRBO or Airbnb and saying, aha, you're not a primary residence. But we are putting time and effort into that, and we're hopeful that we can get that tax shared equally for those that aren't really primary residents. Just looking through some of the different questions. The Sunridge development, I don't know much specifically about the Sunridge development. I will say that unincorporated areas of Weber County are different than the general fund that we're talking about. So commissioners, you as commissioners manage the county finances, but also you serve as the mayors of unincorporated area, just like a city, like Ogden City or North Ogden. And so If those are developments related to those, any revenues from that would go into the municipal services fund, not our general operations fund.
Correct.
And can only be spent on those unincorporated areas of Weber County. So I could do some more research on the Sunridge development, but I unfortunately don't have any information.
Yeah, that would be under the municipal service.
Yeah. Do you have, Commissioner Harvey, do you have any other questions that you'd like me to answer?
No, there's a lot, but there were some, there was some talks about all the apartments and going up, and where does the revenue go for those apartments?
So that's a good question, and
That's
it
in
depends.
all over the cities, it's all over.
Yeah, and if it's in the city, so let me give an example. So Ogden wanted to put in some infrastructure, and they wanted the developer to oversize the pipes because they knew that there was going to be other developments later on in the future. So instead of, and I don't remember the exact size of the pipes, I'm just going to use some numbers. Please don't hold me to these numbers. So instead of a 30-inch sewer pipe, Ogden's going to make them put in a 42-inch sewer pipe. And so that extra cost that the developer wouldn't have to bear otherwise, but we want it in there because we don't want to have to tear up the road later on to put in a bigger sewer pipe. They do what's a Community Reinvestment Act, a tax increment area. And so what they do is they basically get a rebate on their taxes to help pay for the cost of that infrastructure. So some of these new developments that come in, we don't see the full taxes of those for 10 or sometimes 15 years. So some of those apartments that are being built in Ogden City, now again, this is Ogden City making those deals. Weber County can participate in some of those, but a lot of that tax revenue is tied up for the first few years of these developments to help pay for the oversized infrastructure that they had to put in. And so that's why we don't see it all right away. Our new growth last year was about 3%. This year we're expecting it to be less than 2%. And so we're not seeing the growth that we saw in previous years.
Commissioner Harvey, anything else you have?
I will in a few minutes.
Okay. Well, let me just key off of what Scott brought up. There was a lot of talk on senior taxes and where those were set. I want to make it very clear that Weber County, just like the other 28 counties in the state, is a political subdivision of the state of Utah. The legislature sets tax policy through the revenue and taxation, and the county then gets told what our taxing policy would be, the revenue neutral, holding the truth in taxations. But as we talk about seniors and the ability that, or the opportunity for these seniors to take advantage of some of those programs that are allowed by the state that we enforce through Ricky's office, such as the circuit breaker, those are out there. Now you have to, again, qualify for those by certain ages. For those that said there should be a cap after a certain age, that taxes shouldn't go up, I agree with that. In fact, I proposed a legislation, I was in the legislature a number of years back, that capped it at 68, that the taxes stayed the same. That bill didn't go forward for whatever reason. But if people have that strong feeling, they should visit Revenue and Taxation Committee hearings, talk to their senators and their representatives. That's where the policy gets set. All we do as a political subdivision is we have to enforce the mandates set by state government. So those policies and I would say programs are available. And I don't know how many programs we have now, Ricky. Quite a few.
I believe there are 6 available on the website.
Okay.
One including a tax deferral option for taxpayers over age 75. You can defer that until your demise or until the property is sold.
Right. So those programs are out there, but I think it's important that people that don't understand tax policy and how the state of Utah works with the revenue neutral, again, it's very clear that your property taxes can go up, your neighbors may decrease, and it's going to happen either because of value increases or tax rate. And then if you have an increase, probably your neighbor's going to be a decrease. That's what we've seen in the past. But overall, there's no additional money that goes to the political subdivision. Is that correct, Scott?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Okay, Commissioner Harvey, what else?
I'll wait until item number 5 on the agenda, please.
Okay. All right, Scott, anything else?
No.
Okay, so with that, seeing no other comments, let's look. Come on up. This will be our last comment, and we'll go back into public meeting.
I just have one question that you may have answered a little bit. How do we approach the state government on some of these issues. You mentioned 6 areas. Where do we find those areas? And, you know, is it as simple as, well, you got to elect the right people that know about this and will go forward, or can we do something, you know?
No, this is up to the citizens to have the full right to attend the Appropriations Committee. That's a Revenue and Taxation Committee that is in session. Well, they have committee hearings through the year, but they start at the start of the session. That's the time to go down and have your voice heard at the state capitol as they talk about policy.
Okay,
So,
can we find that information online?
And those programs are available online. Is that right, Ricky?
Yes, if you go to the WeberCountyUtah.gov website, there are menu choices across the top. If you click on services, the very first option is called property tax relief. And that will explain all the programs. We have programs if you're blind, if you're elderly, if you are a veteran with a disability, if you're a veteran who's been deployed actively, and if for indigent or hardship, financial hardship. And there was a gentleman who said earlier, Mr. Hanson, I believe, he wasn't able to apply because he had some medical issues. You can apply for an exemption to have us accept your appeal late if you can prove that it was due to something like a medical emergency. So all those are available, and our office is always open, willing to take your phone calls and answer any questions that you might have. And if there is any way we can help you reduce your taxes, we'll do it.
Okay, thanks.
It's
Thank
Mr.
you.
Shirtliff, right? Is it Mr. Shirtliff?
Yes.
Your representatives are Katie Hall in Washington Terrace and Ann Milner. You can reach them. They're pretty easy to reach out to, and they have great communication, and they can help you with that.
What else is on your list there, Commissioner Harvey?
I'll defer for a few moments. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Can I just say something real quickly?
Please come up.
So, James Ebert, Far West, and I just want to say, you know, there's lots of frustration, and I'm sure that you feel this as people come up and are concerned about their taxes, they're concerned about their houses, there's multiple taxing agencies and entities. But I will say that it's easy to cast a stone at the commissioners and say you don't care, or you're not hearing us, or you're not really representing us. And what I would ask the public to do is sometimes just think about the litany of services that are required for the county to provide and which services you would want them to no longer do, or at what level would you rather have them reduce those services. There was a tax that increased to support the libraries because new libraries were built, the capacity was increased. Do you want us to close those libraries and fire those staff? I would think that would be a no by most of the community, and I hope it would be a no by most of the community. There's services that are provided that are critical, law enforcement, ambulance, paramedics, you know, those type of first responders that are critical. I mean, what kind of folks do you want working in those jobs? When you're out of town and your daughter calls and said, I think somebody's breaking into my home, do you want the Keystone Cops showing up to take care of your child? I would guess the answer is no. That's a critical person, right? There are non-critical, right, but there are important services that are supposed to be provided, and those services require either the county to, maybe it's a revenue generator, right, or it's a way we collect taxes. Do you want your elected officials to have people assessing your property value that don't have the critical training needed to do that, so your property is, you know, assessed incorrectly? I would say that would be a no. So across the span of all the requirements and what the county is required to do, and then also what the county is providing services to you, I would ask that you spend a little time thinking about where you want the county to cut, because that's what you're asking your commissioners to do. And I believe they're trying to do that. I believe that they've looked at their budgets, they've looked at their staff, they're concerned about losing quality people because they realize there's long-term ramifications to that. And they're working with staff and also out in the community, because I know you reached out to the community on some of these things, to figure out what's the best thing to do. So I would ask the community to, rather than just cast a stone, because that's super easy to do, maybe work with the community. I have appreciated the people who've come up here with maybe some ideas and suggestions. And I know that this commission and staff have written those things down and will work on those. I'm not going to be for or against this, but what I'm saying to you is let's work as a community to address these issues, to have a good quality of life, to have great services, to have the very best staff. I know of department heads within this county who have been offered jobs within the last couple months. And they are high-quality people that we cannot afford to lose, because you cannot afford to train new people and then lose them. I'm appreciative of the work that's been done. I'm appreciative of the belt-tightening that's been taking place, and I hope our community expresses their concerns, but then supports the direction that we need to go to have a great quality of life. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, James. So, appreciate that. So, I know the question came up about questioning the 16% that the county operates on. I think if there's any questions on that, Scott Park can provide that. That's accurate. It was brought up that the county has control over the other percent, and I would say that's absolutely not factual. I would say that you have the opportunity, and I'm not agreeing with the tax increases across the board, but you do have the opportunity, all of us have the opportunity to attend the school board meeting. Again, 54% of your taxes go there. The time to talk about property taxes, the school district, is when they have their truth in taxation. We have no control over that. Weber Basin, Central Weber, you can go down the list. So how many people attended those? So if you look at your tax levy, it's not speculation, it's fact. Look at your tax levy and look at those that had truth in taxation. So we have absolutely no ability to tell the school district what their tax rate should be. Now, if we did, or if the state changes it, we're happy to look at that, but right now we don't. So again, I encourage everybody to go to their truth in taxation and see where those dollars go, what they buy, what you're spending. So.
Actually, I called the Ogden City School District, and they sold a big property of the old Grandview Elementary, so Ogden City School will not be doing increase next year because of the land they sold at Grandview.
Yeah.
So we won't have any from them this year.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Stacy, do you have something?
Sue Hagarty online has a comment. So we'll be able to hear her if she comes.
Go ahead, Sue. Can't hear us.
She can, they can hear us. Sue Hagarty, if you have a comment, go ahead. Guess not.
Okay. With that, do you have a comment or? No, no. Okay. All right. With that, commissioners, we've heard, I think, a good discussion tonight. We understand the concerns of the public. We appreciate them taking time out of their Tuesday night to be with us, but I'd request a motion to adjourn our public hearing and reconvene as a public meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We're now in a public meeting, and we'll take action and a motion on the proposed tentative operating and capital budget and proposed tax increase. Action and/or comment.
Mr. Chair, I'll just pause for a minute so people can.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Go ahead.
Chair. First off, I wanted to thank those who've commented, especially those who are respectful. That makes a lot of difference. I appreciate those who have, coming from one that comes from a business side and being able to move into a public office. I've loved what I've learned being in public office. I would hope that everybody in this room, and especially you, Mr. Crockett, one day runs for public office, because it's a great learning experience. It takes a lot of courage to speak at a microphone, especially in something like this. It's not something that people do every day. It's hard to do, but sometimes with emotion it drives them to do that, and I really appreciate you overcoming your courage and coming up and addressing us. For me, and I think I can speak for the other two, but for me especially, this isn't an easy button. For people who said we hit an easy button, it's not easy at all. I've got aged parents and taxes myself and family. It's not an easy button. Tangent? Mr. Alstrom, thank you for helping out with those disabled veterans this summer. Thank you for giving back to the community. Didn't go unnoticed. Appreciate that. You said something was really good, Mr. Chair. There's in some people's tax notices, depending on where you live, there can be 16, 18, 19 different lines of tax on that notice. We're talking about the 4 or 5 that we control tonight, not all the others. I hope, and there were 10 others that had a truth in taxation. Boy, I hope you were as passionate. And they were listed on your tax notice when those tax hearings were. And the phone numbers were there. I hope all of you were as passionate at those other truth in taxation hearings that you were with us tonight. Now, we're the ones that collect those taxes. It's really easy, since we're the ones that collect it for all the other entities, to come and speak to us. And we've heard you. And I've written down every comment. Well, I shouldn't say every comment, but your name and where you're from. I appreciate that. Sometimes it's one of the things that I have noticed is it's confusing. We, the people, and I wish Mr. Gray were still here to hear this, but we, the people, have made this confusing by how we've set up law. Weber County can do some things, but we can't others. Well, that goes to the cities, that goes to the state. Sometimes other monies are federal. There was a comment made with regards to ARPA funding, American Rescue Plan, and where that went in the county, or how it's going in the county. For me, I'd rather spend it in the county than to turn it back in and have it go to New York or Chicago. Because that's the option we have. We can keep it and invest it locally on behalf of the people here, or we can send it back. There were some people that did, although they were few, that talked about services and how much they enjoy services. With the others, it's really quite simple. I want you to know, and I'm not afraid of this, but I love the staff at Weber County. I've not seen in my being in Weber County for 60 years a better, more harmonistic atmosphere for people to come to work. I don't think there's anybody in the room that doesn't like to be happy going to work. And they're the most productive when they're happy. So we get more from them. We can have twice the caseload for our attorneys, and they still choose to be here. We have twice the calls for service for our first responders, and they still choose to serve here. We have wonderful services. You know, most of you said, one said, and I love it, don't close my library. Thank you. You know, we were one of the only counties of all 29, in fact, the only county that chose to keep their libraries open during COVID. Is that an essential service? Not life, I mean, it's not life and death, but it is for some. We enjoy great things at Weber County. In order to maintain the same level of service that we have, it costs more money. I'm happy to listen. If there are some other ideas on services you think can cut. We went to our employees. Our chair and Commissioner Bolos went to their departments. We went to our employees and they said, you know, we think we can cut $2.7 million annually out of our budget, taking our own haircut. $2.7 million. I'm proud of our employees for doing that. That made this tax increase half of what it could have been. New growth. Unfortunately, any new growth is taken up by insurance costs. it was mentioned, you know, I'm on a fixed income and Medicare takes the rest of my thing. You had that's the same thing, it's just different. Just, it's a county level and not a federal level. So Mr. Chair, I got to tell you, I've learned a lot tonight. I'd like to make a motion if I could, if you're ready to receive it. I'd like to think about what was said here tonight. I've got some others. I just want to sit and stew about it a little more. I'd like to postpone this to a date certain, 2 weeks from today, which would be the 12th of December. 12th of December, our next commission meeting, whenever the 12th of December, if that's a Tuesday. Is that a Tuesday? I'm seeing a yes over here. Date certain would be to postpone or hold this until the 12th of December. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a motion to hold until date certain, commission meeting on December 12th, which I believe will be at 10 a.m. Is that correct? Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. We'll hold this until December 12th. In the meantime, those that made comments, that have made comments online, all those will go of record and will be considered until that date. Appreciate you being here.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah. So before we adjourn, we'll go to commissioner comments. Commissioner Bolos.
I just want to add a couple things to Commissioner Harvey's comments. Again, thank you to everyone for the civility in this meeting. I was pleasantly surprised. I watched the tax hearing in, I think it was 2016, and was not so impressed. And I know that there's a lot of passion, and it's really admirable when you can express your passion in a civil way. And so I really appreciate that. I also want to thank all those who came to participate. We have thousands of residents in Weber County, and you were the only ones who cared to express your opinion. And some didn't even express your opinion, but cared to come and listen to this process and this conversation. There are a lot of explanations. I appreciated Mr. Hatch sharing where to find those taxpayer relief options. For you, I appreciate Mr. Park and Ms. Ebert for their work on the budget and their ability to answer questions that we can understand, but we can't answer as quickly as they can. They're phenomenal, and they've been wonderful through this whole process in helping us understand what we're trying to do for the residents of the county. I appreciated the comments by Mr. Ebert about services to cut, and that's part of the conversation, and it was during our budget work sessions, and that is, if we don't have a tax increase, what will we cut? And it goes back to asking our directors and managers to cut their budgets before we even started this process. And I will tell you this, it was presented to those managers and directors in our county in this way. If you can help us save money in our budget in ways that only you can find by sweeping those corners, then we will work for your employees. We will work to compensate your employees to what they're worth. And they did it. And that shows the respect that our managers and our directors have for their employees, and the way that they value them. They came back with an incredible amount of savings for us to consider, and that's because they want to keep their good employees. And for me, in a government position, it's all about the employees, because they are the ones serving you. And if we don't recruit and retain the best of the best, then the services won't be the best of the best. And so that's always a top priority for me. We as a commission also found ways to decrease our budget, eliminating some positions, not only in our own department, but in other departments, and consolidating some of those employees into other places. And we've all worked hard, I think, to make sure that we have swept the corners and found ways that we can cut before we come to the public and tell you that we're considering an increase to the tax rate. So I want to make sure that the management team in our county is commended for that. And like I said, they did it for the employees. They went to work hard to find those cuts because they value the people who are serving you. And I want to make sure that that's understood by the public. Again, thank you so much for your participation. wouldn't it be wonderful if we got an email or a phone call from everyone whose lives we're impacting? But we don't. We get a small fraction of the people who really care to participate in the process. So thank you. I appreciate you coming out tonight.
Okay, thank you. Great remark. Anything else, Commissioner Harvey? Again, thank you for being here. I think we obviously have taken down the notes. We respect your time that you've spent and will be taken seriously. I wanted also to give a thanks to our Sheriff's Department. I know that they take time out of their night to be, Mike, our Deputy Sheriffs, to be with us, and we just lost a couple, but...
The most handsome Ryan brothers here.
Yeah. We thank our great public safety people for being here on this evening. With that, I'd entertain a final motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We're now adjourned. Thank you.